Wow, I can't believe the famous keyboard YouTuber JYMV is working right next to me. Let's see what he's using. Wow, that's really something else. Oh wait, hold on. What's this? If you follow the channel for a bit, you'll know that I'm all about custom keyboards. For those of you who haven't, custom keyboards actually just refer to customizable keyboards that are still unmistakably commercial products. The difference is generally that custom keyboards emphasize attributes that enthusiasts care about. So naturally, I must use one of these all-metal, painstakingly lubed and tuned keyboards topped with keycaps that cost as much as keyboards themselves, right? Wrong. My daily driver is the Happy Hacking Keyboard Professional Classic. Note that I said work, meaning at the office, though in case you were wondering, fear of theft is not one of the reasons. In classic high school English fashion, let's start with the weakest arguments and work up to the strongest. And in Jenny Nicholson fashion, let's put that into a numbered list. Number 1, I'm really self-conscious about the amount of noise I make. Every workspace is different, but I've always been worried about driving my coworkers off the wall with a noisemaker. Obviously, clicky switches are out of the question, but even tactiles and linears come under fire as well. The bottom out and return noise these make when compared to rubber domes and laptop keyboards is actually pretty significant. As an enthusiast, it's easy to forget, but it becomes painfully obvious when one day you're the first one to show up at the office and it hits you, "Oh god, I'm that guy." So here you have two options, type really lightly or use silent switches. Typing lightly is possible, but as I get immersed by seeing a 3-hour test fail, smashing that enter button becomes an inevitability, which gets us to number 2. Silent switches are f***ing dog shit. I have a couple yearly rituals. One is going back to the Korean fried chicken place across the street to see if they are actually making good Korean fried chicken yet. It's the 5th year and they're still not. It's run by Koreans and obviously good recipes exist online, yet they consistently drop the ball. One time I got kimchi fried rice there and it was just brown from all the soy sauce, which doesn't belong here at all. And they charged me $2 for a fried egg. Oh, I also try a new silent switch every year. You know, it was the Cherry Silence, then the Gateron Inks, then Xylens, then Bluish Whites, then Durox, but they're all just so This is subjective, but I just can't deal with the mushy bottom out on these. Even though Topra has a mushy bottom out, it's different somehow. It feels more firm and doesn't make me want to vomit out my fingertips. Despite all this, sometimes I commit to typing lightly and bring a keyboard to work and run into number 3. Custom keyboards are jank. There are two sides to this, designer error and user error. Designer error being the fact that most of these keyboards are made by hobbyists with no formal training or testing resources and overlooking small yet immensely important things that go into a fully baked product. The biggest example of this I can give is how it took like 10 years for people to finally start adding shock protection to keyboards, and I don't mean adding those ESD chips. I mean providing a path to ground for all exposed metal parts. The vast majority of these keyboards I own don't do this at all. This means that when you shock the board, which is probably even more likely in the office where the air is dry and you're always wearing shoes, you're just gonna run into some stuff. If you're lucky, the keyboard will just kind of turn on and off. The LZ Physics, Jur 80, G60 are just the ones I currently own that do this. Some others will just turn off until you replug your cable. The old minivan keyboards were awful for this. These could happen for shocks that you couldn't even feel. Now, if you built up some mighty charge, you could do some real damage. I had a 96 key red scarf board that died completely after a strong shock, and the HBCP had over half of its LEDs blow out after shocking the plate through the plastic case. If I shock the physics particularly badly, it'll just forget all of my key maps. Happened twice so far. And shocking is only one of the things that could go wrong. The awful Unigo 66, for example, which was a completely wireless split ergo, just straight up had key positions that didn't work, and had an unusable wireless connection without a backup wired option. The Lulu, for another example, doesn't actually work on Chromebooks when waking from sleep until you replug the cable. These are more or less tolerable when you're sitting at home with time to tinker and other keyboards to fall back to, but is absolutely unacceptable when you're at work and some production issue has sucked all the blood from your Were you
hand.
the one who published the prod server template factory info yesterday?
Yeah?
Yeah, it seems like it's stuck on ingestion. Can you take a look? It's blocking our 6 p.m. publish here.
Okay. I'll take a look.
These problems could happen due to user expectations for custom keyboards as well. In other words, custom keyboards are not idiot-proof. I remember when I bought a minivan to work at some point. I've been happily using it at home for weeks, but I almost immediately ran into a problem. I hadn't actually mapped brackets or backticks. And of course I can't remap it there because of security policy, so I had to take it back home and try again later. This kind of thing must have happened a dozen times to me. I'd also never used the insert key at home, but I use it a lot when copying into terminals on Windows. Also, I only use Windows at home, but the mods are all wrong when I plug it into a Mac, that kind of stuff. Stuff that's just my fault, but is generally unique to custom keyboards. So with all this, it should really make sense for why I use a HHKB at work, which is number 4. The HHKB is OK. The HHKB is probably the most mid keyboard I own, yet it's the chosen one because it's got all of the reliability of a normie keyboard and has one tiny little upgrade called Topra. It's still pretty loud but generally blends into the office keyboard noise profile while offering a typing experience that's not all that remarkable but still agreeable. I'm pretty confident it'll never randomly die on me or forget its own key maps or not work with different operating systems. It's reliable, and that's what matters when I'm trying to turn my life force into lines of code. The rubber dome is just a bonus. I still try to do some of the enthusiast stuff on it, like lubing it a little bit and adding upstroke silencing rings, but it's basically just a HHKB Type S, and for the foreseeable future, it's gonna stay that way. So yeah, the HHKB is my daily driver not because Topra is cool, but because custom keyboards are so unreliable. These problems can be overcome, but that's for another day, or week, or year.